gorgeous 6 days new Henry. He was such a handsome little baby. So today I'm going to show you how I would edit this image in Lightroom and then over and finish it off in Photoshop. So the first thing that I'd do is I'd go to the white balance panel here and I would click the eyedropper because this backdrop is grey. So we need to, there's lots of red in it, so we need to neutralise the greys. So here we go. So that's taken it to 4,000, the temperature to 4,850 and the tint to -8. Alright, so as you can see here, it's a little bit underexposed, which is the way I take my photos. I shot at ISO 80, 50mm, and the f-stop was 2. So I'm just going to come down here and increase the exposure just by a little bit to about there. And I'm going to decrease the contrast to about -10 or round about there, -11. Then the highlights, I'm going to pop those up to about 20, +20. The shadows, just going to remove the shadows, lift the shadows to about there, +29, and then the blacks I'm going to bring down to about there. So next I'll move down to this panel here, which is the texture and clarity panel, and I'm going to take down the clarity by -20, so this really softens up the skin nicely. Then we're going to come down here to the HSL color panel and I'm going to click on the reds and I'm going to move the hue slider away from the pinks and into the oranges. So I'm going to move that up. His face, as you can see, is pretty pink, so let's see where we started, and then I'm going to move this up quite a lot to about there, and we'll see how we go with that. The luminance, I'm going to lift that because that's going to brighten the reds. So I'm going to lift it to about there. And his face is looking pretty orange now, so I'm just going to click onto the orange colour and I'm going to move the orange hue slider towards the yellows to about +15. The saturation, I'm gonna just take that down just a little bit to about there, -18, and then I'm just going to try the luminance slider. So I think I could just lift it to about +11. So now his skin is looking a bit more peachy, which is better. The final thing that I would do here is, as you can see, this was a different hue of grey, and it's very blue now compared to the backdrop and the hat and his wrap. So I'm going to click on the blue colour and I'm just going to take that saturation all the way down to -100. Now I'm just going to come to the top and I'm going to see if I can bump the highlights up a little bit. So I'm just going to go to there. So here we have, if I just reset, the before and after, before and after. Now this is my original image after, and then this is your image. As you can see, it's very, very blue, and this is my, oh no, we just don't need that one. This is my final image, which I finished off in Photoshop. So that's all I need to do here. I'm going to export this image out and finish off in Photoshop. So I'm just going to select this, export, choose my folder, Henry. Bess is my subfolder. I'm going to choose that. And I'm going to keep the file name exactly as it was, just use the little underscore. Make sure this is at 100%. I export my images out at 14 inches on the longest side, and my resolution is 300. And now I'm going to export out. So let's now open up Photoshop. Did that export? Just try again. Export. Oh no. Don't know what happened there. Right. Okay, so let's open it up into Photoshop. Alright, now here I would just go in and use the healing tool and just remove that and just see if there's anything else that needs to be removed or cloned, and there isn't. That's pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the layer, select the, move that over here, use this quick selection tool, and I'm going to select his face and the feet, every area which has his skin. Okay, I've duplicated the layer so that if I make a mistake, then I haven't actually affected the original image there. So just going to come in here, and now I'm going to invert it, so Command Shift I, adjustment layer, going to hue and saturation, and I'm going to just remove all the colour. So that's at the extreme. You can see where there's little patches of colour still, so I'm just going to take it down to there, and we've just got to make sure that we remove these little areas here. So here we've got the adjustment layer, and I'm going to switch this over to black. Make sure I've got the brush tool selected, and I'm just going to go around this area here because it's selected some of the skin. Alright, make sure. I'm just going to remove this part here. Alright, I think that's good enough there. Okay, so now we know that it's definitely grey. I'm going to flatten that, and then what I'm going to do next actually is duplicate the layer, and I'm going to go into the liquify tool, which is under filter and then liquify. And I'm just going to bring his little bum up here. Push in this little foot. Just move it over a little bit. Oh. Okay, and then I will just bring this out just to make it a little bit rounder. So we can see before and after. And then I would just take his hat in just a little bit. just like that. And let's look at before and after. Okay, so that's fine. Right, I'm going to flatten that, and then I will use one of the actions, which is the LSP Complete Baby Quick Fix, and click play, and we'll see all of the layers have appeared. So as I always do, I'm going to go down to the soft skin, zoom in, make sure I've selected the brush tool at 100%, and I'm just going to go over baby's skin here. And then just a little bit under the nose, just above the lip line. Okay, and that's fine. Now I'm going to reduce the reds, so I'm clicking on this layer here, and I'm just going to go across the hairline, over the eyes, under the nose, over the nose, under the chin area here, over baby's feet. Okay, so before and after. Then I'm going to go up and I'm going to try the warm skin tone. So drop the opacity down to maybe even lower, at 18, and just go over baby and his feet. So, and then I'm going to switch it to the black brush because I went over onto this wrap, so I'm just going to take these bits off. Alright, so before and after. Then I will go to the top and click on Brighten Up Baby. Need to switch it back to the white colour, and then I'm just going to go here, and that is all I would do there. So I flatten the image, then I'll go into my actions, and I will do one of my favourite ones, which is add depth, and you have this one. I'm going to put it to 100% and see what this does. Yep, that's nice. It brings up the highlights and it drops the shadows, which is exactly what I want. And then I think I would probably sharpen up the eyes. There's a few ways of doing it, but one other action that I like, which is with the LSP, the selection that you've got, is lift grey eye sockets. So if you have any grey areas on the baby, then this works really, really good. So I'm going to click play and then drop this down, and then just going to come under here. No. Just across baby's eyes and then across the forehead. Yep, that looks good. And sharpen. So I'm going to select my Sharpen the Lashes and Details brush up to about there, 41%, and then just run over the eyes like this, just to make them a little bit sharper. Then I'm going to flatten. I'll zoom out. I'm going to check my levels now to see if the image needs to be brightened overall. So Command L, and as you can see, it's looking pretty good, but just want to make sure that I don't blow out any of the face. So I'm going to zoom in here, do Command L to bring up the levels, and so I'm just just gonna, to be honest, it doesn't really need it, but maybe just a little bit there. Okay, and then come out, and then finally I'd crop, so make sure you've got the front image selected, and then holding the shift key down, just remove just a little bit of that background. Enter. Maybe just a little bit more. And that is it. So here we have in the history panel, I'll show you what the image was as we pulled it into Photoshop. So there we have before and after. So I hope that helps.